Welcome to the deep dive. We're diving into a Reddit post today that is really getting people talking. It's a story about a marriage that seems to be falling apart and, a house purchase gone wrong. Lots of questions and speculation swirling around this one.
Yeah, it's amazing how these posts, they can just spark so many different opinions and advice from people online. So we're going to be looking at the original post, of course, and then a whole bunch of comments and see what we can learn from all of this about communication and trust and all those things that come with relationships today.
Okay, so let's give everyone the background here. The original poster, we'll call him OP, is a guy who's only 4 months into his marriage. You think they'd still be in that honeymoon phase, right? But don't things get taken a pretty sharp turn. His wife just asked for a separation.
And to make things even more complicated, it's not just a regular separation. She wants an emotional separation, which is, kind of a vague concept. She says she needs to work on herself and that they're always together so the relationship feels overburnt.
Okay, but here's where things get really messy. They're actually in the middle of buying a house together, and they've already put down a non-refundable deposit, $10,000. Talk
Yeah.
about bad timing.
And if that wasn't enough, the wife is being super distant and secretive about where she goes. Anytime OP tries to ask her anything, she just gets angry. So
Yeah.
yeah, the Reddit community really went to town on this one.
Oh, they did not hold back. The most common reaction, infidelity,
Yeah.
cheating. A lot of people pointed to her secretive behavior, the fact that she's emotionally withdrawn, a sudden request for separation. They see it as classic signs of cheating.
Some of the comments were so direct. One user just straight up said, "Dude, she's cheating. File for divorce or annulment now." I mean, wow. Strong words, right? But it just shows how convinced some people were about the situation.
That's a really good point. Why do we always seem to jump to infidelity first when a relationship hits a rough patch?
It's a fascinating question, isn't it? Maybe it's because we see it all the time in movies and TV shows, or maybe it's just our own insecurities coming out. But whatever the reason for this particular Reddit thread, that was definitely the main theory.
For sure, but I mean, it's important to remember there could be other reasons for her behavior too, right?
Yeah.
Some commenters thought maybe she was struggling with depression or anxiety or just feeling overwhelmed with being married.
Yeah, exactly. Some even wondered if maybe she's going through something personal, a crisis of some kind, and just hasn't felt ready to talk to her husband about it yet.
That's possible too.
hmm
So yeah, the cheating theory might be tempting, but we have to look at all the angles before we jump to conclusions.
Absolutely. And that's where, getting an expert perspective can be so helpful. I mean, when we look at the psychology of relationships, what are some reasons besides infidelity that someone might suddenly want an emotional separation?
That's a great question, and I'm sure you have some insights into that.
Well, there are lots of reasons actually why someone might ask for an emotional separation. Like some of those Reddit users said it could be about their own mental health, dealing with things like depression or anxiety. Sometimes big life changes like getting married or buying a house can really trigger those kinds of feelings.
Yeah, that makes sense. And reading through the comments, it seems like people were really worried about the money side of things too.
Oh, absolutely. Buying a house is a huge commitment financially, and doing it with someone who's not even sure about the relationship, that's a big risk. A lot of commenters were telling OP to just stop the whole house purchase, even if it meant losing that deposit.
Yeah, some were pretty blunt about it. One person said something like, 10 grand is a cheap lesson compared to what a divorce will cost you.
Oof, yeah, that's putting it pretty strongly. But it does make you think about the financial mess that can happen when couples break up and have to divide everything. And in this case, with the house purchase on top of it all, it could get really complicated.
So what do you think is the lesson here for our listeners? Should you never buy a house with someone unless you're 100% certain about the relationship?
Well, it's not quite that simple, but it definitely shows how important it is to be open and honest about money when you're making big decisions as a couple. You really need to talk about your expectations, your goals, any worries you might have before you jump into something like buying a house together.
It's interesting how many people in the comments were sharing their own personal stories too. It was almost like they were trying to warn OP based on their own mistakes.
Yeah, you see that a lot in online forums. People sharing their experiences, trying to help others avoid the same pitfalls. It creates this sense of community. Like we're all in this together.
There was this one story that really stuck with me. This guy was talking about his brother-in-law who was just about to close on a house when he found out his wife was cheating. He ended up backing out of the deal, lost his deposit, but in the end he was glad he did. Dodged a bullet.
Yeah, that one resonated with a lot of people. It really shows that sometimes it's better to cut your losses early on, even if it hurts at the time. It can save you from a lot more pain and financial disaster down the road.
It makes you wonder what happened with OP and his wife, doesn't it? Did he confront her? Try to work things out?
Yeah.
Or did the whole marriage just fall apart?
We may never know the end of that story, but it definitely brings up some big questions for all of us to think about. How do we deal with uncertainty in relationships? How do we balance our own needs with the needs of our partner? And how do we protect ourselves emotionally and financially when things go wrong?
Whoa, those are some deep questions. Definitely something to think about. And I think even though the Reddit community isn't always right, they can offer some pretty good insights and perspectives.
I agree. It's fascinating to see how people from all different backgrounds come together online to share their stories, give advice, and support each other through tough times.
It's a good reminder that we're all human at the end of the day. Even in this digital world, we all want connection. We want to belong.
And sometimes that collective wisdom, even if it's just from strangers on Reddit, can help us find our way when we're feeling lost.
It's amazing, isn't it? How one little Reddit post can spark such a huge conversation about relationships and trust and just looking out for yourself.
Yeah, and what's really interesting is that even though people had all these different ideas about why the wife was acting the way she was, they all pretty much agreed on the advice they gave to OP.
Exactly. Like everybody was telling him to protect himself, both emotionally and financially.
It's like they all recognized that relationships can be so unpredictable and that sometimes the best thing you can do is just focus on your own well-being.
The powerful message for all of us, right?
Definitely. It's like a reminder that it's okay to set boundaries, to ask questions, and to expect honesty from your partner.
And if you're not getting those things, it's okay to walk away even if it's hard.
Sometimes staying in a relationship that isn't working anymore ends up costing you way more than leaving.
This whole story really got me thinking about how important it is to be able to really communicate openly in a relationship.
Yeah, for sure. You have to be able to talk to your partner about your feelings, your needs, any doubts you have.
And if you can't do that,
Hmm.
maybe it's a sign that something's not right.
You know, this whole Reddit thing, even though it's about this one specific situation, it kind of touches on these universal themes that we can all relate to.
Yeah, stuff like love and trust and betrayal and finding the courage to choose your own path.
Exactly. It reminds us that even when we're caught up in all the emotions that come with relationships, we still need to stay grounded, protect ourselves, and remember our own worth.
Well, this has been quite a deep dive, hasn't it? Really makes you think about the complexities of relationships and how powerful online communities can be.
I hope everyone listening found it insightful and gave you some things to ponder.
And if you enjoyed this episode, don't forget to subscribe to Voices of the Soul and check out our YouTube channel, Shauna Pelage, for more content like this.
We love exploring these kinds of topics and helping you all navigate the ups and downs of life.
Until next time, keep asking those questions, keep exploring, and keep the conversations going.
And remember, your voice matters.